I like can't even explain to you really why. It's just so good. Is this embarrassing? I don't know. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Gabby. I am a New York City based life and style content creator, and I'm also a full-time PhD student at NYU studying pharmacology, which is a lot of fun. Today's video is gonna be a fun one. I think it's gonna be a bit different from other videos that I post, which I feel like is the theme of some of my recent content, but basically it's that I watch an incredible amount of movies and TV. I love a good plot, I love a good drama, and so I figured that in today's video I would give you some of my favorite TV show and movie recommendations. And yeah, that would be fun. I always love talking about movies. I feel like I do that in my vlogs. If you're into New York City vlogs, you should go ahead and subscribe to my channel, but I talk about movies and TV shows that I'm watching, and so I figured I would just sit down and do a whole video dedicated to that. I also share some of my recommendations on my Instagram stories, so you should go ahead and follow me on Instagram. And I also signed up for Letterboxd, which if you've never heard of Letterboxd, which I hadn't until recently, it is kind of this platform where you can add movies and TV shows to your watch list. You can rate them and kind of share your profile so that your friends can kind of see what you're watching. So if you have a Letterboxd and are just way ahead of the curve than me, I think my username is just Gabby Whiten, so you can go and add me on there. But I've been slowly kind of like rating movies that I've seen and like adding new shows to my watch list because there's so much coming out. And yeah, so this has been quite a long intro. Let's just go ahead and get into the video so that I am not talking for super long. Let's do it. Okay, so how I'm breaking up this video is based on other popular shows. So you can kind of think of it as like, if you liked the first show that I talk about, then you'll love all the other shows that I talk about. So the first show that I'm basing my recommendations off of is Bridgerton. I'm sure pretty much everyone has heard of Bridgerton. I think it's like Netflix's like most like highest streaming show or something. So Bridgerton was released on Christmas last year in 2020, and it is a 19th century period drama that follows the Bridgerton family. And in this season of Bridgerton, it follows Daphne and her I guess first season looking for a husband in London's high society. I personally really liked Bridgerton. It is kind of corny and cheesy, but I feel like that's almost the appeal of it. It's very campy, great cast, great plot line. I'm really excited for season 2. But if you liked Bridgerton, I have other really fantastic movie and TV show recommendations. My first one is The Spanish Princess. So The Spanish Princess is a Starz show, and it is a part of the White Queen, White Princess storyline. So it follows the English throne from the War of the Roses to King Henry VIII, and it's kind of like, at the beginning of the show, it has more of like a fantasy sci-fi type of vibe to it almost, but they kind of like let that fall off as you move through the series. But it's a period drama. It's very, very good. It's very, if you're into the history aspect of period dramas, you will love this. I personally really vibed with it. I thought the plot was engaging. It ties in some of the diversity in The Spanish Princess that you see in Bridgerton, which is really cool. The costumes are always really pretty, lots of balls, lots of dancing, lots of very stunning dresses. My other recommendation that is also a period drama from a similar era is Reign. Reign follows Mary Queen of Scots, and it was on the CW, and I think you can stream it on Netflix. I really love Reign. The cast was phenomenal. I don't know, I feel like Reign was more fun at the beginning. The characters are kind of younger and it's not as dark at the beginning. So I feel like it's very similar to Bridgerton in that way. Next up, we have The Crown. The Crown is a very heavy show to watch, but it is on Netflix and it is based on the current royal family of England. So it follows from the beginning of Queen Elizabeth II's reign all the way up to now. We are kind of seeing the era of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. And so that's the current focus of season 4 that just came out. And honestly, I feel like The Crown is kind of hard to get into. It gets you and it ties you in and it makes you want to watch like the entire season in one sitting, but it is like very, very taxing to watch. But I really love it. I think it's so good. I feel like season 4 has been my favorite, maybe season 2, not sure. The actors are incredible. Claire Foy in seasons 1 and 2, so good. Yeah, really love The Crown. Netflix really killed it. Next up, we have Lovecraft Country. Lovecraft Country is an HBO show. It is very good, and it follows Atticus Freeman, I believe is his last name, and he goes looking for his dad who has gone missing, and they're kind of in search of this like fantastical fantasy land called Lovecraft Country, and it's based on like a book, and he's trying to find his dad, and he tasks his uncle and this other like local girl that he knows, that's played by Journey Smollett, and it's kind of like their journey of like trying to find his dad, and then there's like some other stuff that happens after that, and it is so good. Like, I finished the show so quickly. I personally really love like a good sci-fi fantasy show. It had just such a nice way of being entertaining, but also framing like very important conversations on race, sexuality, family in such like an engaging way. And personally, I really like the show, so definitely recommend for sure. So the last recommendation for this category is actually one of my favorite movies of all time, and it is Ever After. You can stream it on Disney Plus, and it stars Drew Barrymore. It's from the late 90s. It's so good. 10 out of 10. Is just a very kind of like gritty version of Cinderella. The actors are so good. Angelica Houston is in it. Yeah, I think it's like very well written. It's a romantic drama, but they also talk about like, you know, society and the social injustices that the society faces and just all kinds of things. And I really love it. It's super good. I also feel like when I made this list to film this video, brand new Cinderella was not on Disney Plus yet, but now it is, so I have to throw that in very quickly. It's another version of Cinderella, also very, very good. It just always leaves a smile on my face, and it's a musical, and it has Whitney Houston in it and Whoopi Goldberg, and it's just so good. So both of the Cinderellas, Drew Barrymore's version and Brandy's version, are totally so good, and you should definitely watch them, especially if you loved Bridgerton. All right, so the next category is based on the show New Girl, which if you've been following my channel for a while, you know is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's so good. New Girl was I don't know what channel it was on, but you can stream it on Netflix, and the new girl is Jess, who's played by Zooey Deschanel, and she ends up moving into this apartment with 3 other guys at the time. But it follows this group of friends, and they are so funny, and it's a sitcom, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. It's one of the only shows that I think has ever made me literally laugh out loud, like embarrassingly so. Like, I'll just be sitting in my bed watching it, and I'll just like laugh. It's just it's so funny. I personally identify with Winston. Yeah, it's just so good. You should definitely watch it if you haven't already. If you loved New Girl, I think that you would also love Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek is also a sitcom. You can stream it also on Netflix, and it follows this family, the Roses. There's 4 of them. There's Alexis, there's David, Moira, and why can I not remember the dad's name? It's not important, really. I'm so sorry, Eugene Levy. Like, I'm so sorry, I don't remember what your character's name was, but it follows the Roses. They're like financial guy steals all of their money from them, so they're basically poor now, and the only thing that they still own is this town called Schitt's Creek, and so they have to move there and live there, and it's basically about this very, very rich family who has no money and has to live like normal people, essentially. But it's so funny. At first I was like, I don't know about this, like I don't know if this is like my kind of humor, but it's so funny and it's very well written. The jokes are so good, and it has like a very interesting plot line. Like I feel like it's not one of those shows where it's just kind of very random and it doesn't really like follow any type of plot, but I feel like the characters do have a ton of growth. They still kind of remain true to like who they are and who their like personalities are, but I do feel like they grow and like the story is very interesting. So yeah, we love Schitt's Creek for sure. So next up, if you love New Girl, I personally think you'd love Insecure. It's probably my favorite show ever. I think Issa Rae is a genius. She plays the main character, Issa, and I love this show for so many reasons, but mostly because it follows a black woman, Issa, in her, I believe they're 20s. I believe they're still in their 20s. They might be in their 30s, but I'm pretty sure they're in their late 20s. And it follows kind of just her journey living in LA and wanting to kind of make a difference in the community and kind of feeling lost at the beginning of the show, and then kind of finding her way through different paths and like starting a new job and kind of wanting to start something bigger than what she's doing. And it's just so good, and I feel like it's just so different from a lot of the shows that are on right now. But yeah, really love Insecure. Nothing but positive things. Also, the music is always great. Like I feel like I'm always adding the music from the episodes to like a new playlist, so we love that. Whoever's in their music department is killing it, like absolutely killing it. So the next show that I really love and think you would love if you love New Girl is Woke. It stars Lamorne Morris, who plays Winston in New Girl, and I feel like no one really talked about this show, but it's so good. It's getting a season 2 on Hulu. So Lamorne Morris plays the main character, Keith, who's based on Keith Knight, who is a real cartoonist. And the show starts and Keith in the show is about to sign this huge book deal for these two characters that he's made, like Toast and Butter, I think, and it's like a comic series. And he gets into, and he has this like very like life-altering altercation that kind of changes his perspective. And I really love this show because I feel like I love comedies that can actually tackle real things that are happening and like really kind of tap into the pulse of like conversation in a way that's like entertaining but still productive, and I feel like the show does it very well. I just think it's so funny. I think more people should watch it. It's very good. I'm really glad that it got picked up for another season. Yeah. I feel like a lot of critics didn't like it because they felt like it was kind of behind the conversation. I don't know, I just still felt like it was good, and I feel like it's never too late to kind of have these conversations and to do it in a new and different way. The next recommendation I have in this category is Palm Springs. It's on Hulu, and my friend Francesca got me to watch it because I promise you I like would not have ever watched this movie if she hadn't have been like, you need to watch it. So thanks Fran for introducing me to this. But this movie is a trip. It is like just the funniest thing. I just like am still not really sure like what happened. I just remember being entertained and that it was super funny and weird and like trippy. So if you're into that vibes, it stars Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. It's so funny. Like I feel like it's just hilarious. So Palm Springs follows Andy Samberg's character Niles, and he is stuck in a time loop, and it's like the same day as a wedding that he's stuck in, and so he ends up interacting with the sister of the bride one time in his time loop, and she ends up like following him, I think, or something happens where she ends up like meeting him at this location, and it puts her into the time loop, and then it's like their whole like and then it's like her finding out about the time loop and them trying to get out of the time loop, and then there's like this villain, and it's just like all over the place. It's so funny, so chaotic. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. It's so good. All right, so my next category is based on another one of my favorite shows ever, but it is based on Scandal. So Olivia Pope, who's played by Kerry Washington, has a group of lawyers so she runs like Olivia Pope and Associates, and they're not really lawyers, they act more like fixers. And at the beginning of the show, it's more like every episode is them having like a new client and their story. And at the same time, it's like weaving in her relationship with the president, Fitzgerald Grant III, who's played by Tony Goldwyn, and like their relationship and all the messy drama there. And I feel like the casting in the show is just so incredibly good. You kind of hate every character, but you love every character. And personally, I just love the drama of the show. I'm also very obsessed with like Washington, DC, so I think that was also part of it. But again, I feel like this is an OG drama, an OG Shonda show, and I'm sure many of you have watched it. If you haven't, like, what are you doing? But if you like Scandal, I feel like you'll also love these shows. First up, we have The Undoing. The Undoing is a new limited series on HBO, and it stars Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant, and they're a married couple who kind of have their lives blown up because someone that they are both acquainted with suddenly is murdered, and it's kind of the story of figuring out who murdered her and how Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant are potentially involved with that. No one was talking about it on Twitter when the first few episodes aired, and then we got to like episode 4, and like, to be fair, like that's when I think it got really good. I don't know if I really like this show. I don't know if that's the way to put it. I feel like I just like Nicole Kidman. I think she's an incredible actress, and that kept me watching it, I think. Also, the lawyer is very good. You'll see what I mean, but she's like a very good actress, so I like that too. Also, speaking of Nicole Kidman, I think if you like Scandal, you'd also really like Big Little Lies, which a lot of people might have already watched. But I also feel like with these like really big popular shows, like some people are like, I don't want to watch it because everyone is raving and talking about it. Like, I do think Big Little Lies, at least the first season, was very good. The book was also very good. But Big Little Lies is about this group of California housewives. They don't like each other, really. All their kids go to the same school, and they have like this fundraiser party, and someone ends up murdered. Yeah, I feel like we're sensing a theme here. And it's one of those things where they tell you someone's been murdered, but then they like back up and then they tell the story from the beginning. And then like in each of the episodes, you like hear the testimony of all the people that they're interrogating, so it's like kind of built like that. But I thought the show was super interesting, very drama heavy, super good. Really loved it. 10 out of 10. So I had to move off my bed because the sun was just getting ridiculously bright, as you can see, so hopefully this is not too distracting. But now I know that it is too late in the day to film at this angle, but I feel like the lighting also is like very good on me right now, so confusing. But like I was saying, I feel like industry is about like an industry that really I've like never watched a show on before, so I felt like it was really interesting. And it also follows like a group of people, or like an age group that's not like, doesn't usually get its own TV show. So it's about this like entry-level group of, I want to say they're interns, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's a group of interns of like 5 or 6 people. It's based in London, and they all are recruited to work for this financial company. And it's like all of the drama about being an intern, trying to be the best, most and it's like super competitive, and it feels like it just talks about a lot of the struggles that I think a lot of people in their 20s can experience when they're going into the workforce, trying to be super competitive, the best at their jobs, so that they can get the full-time positions and the promotions and the bonuses. And I don't know, I just felt like it was a really refreshing switch up from like the teen shows that people keep making, and I definitely think that we should be making more shows revolving around 20-somethings. All right, next up we have Elite. Elite is a Netflix show, and it is a teen drama. They are in high school. I know I just said like I wish we would stop, but Elite, actually very good. And it is a Spanish show actually, so it is all in Spanish, but we stan subtitles here on this channel. So turn on the subtitles. It's truly worth it. And it follows the 3 scholarship students in their first year at this private elite in like school. Again, it's a show where someone gets murdered, you're not sure who it is or who did it, and they tell you that at the beginning of the show, and then it's like, who did it? So it has 4 seasons on Elite, or on Netflix. No, does it have 4 seasons? I think it has 4 seasons on Netflix, and it's getting another season. It's very good. I finished it so quickly. But yeah, very good. We love Elite. Definitely. Okay, last up for this section, we have The Queen's Gambit, which again, I feel like everyone was talking about. It's on Netflix. It was nominated for some awards. I can't quite put my finger on why The Queen's Gambit became so popular, because it's about a girl, a teen, like a young girl, and it follows her through her teens and early 20s, who learns to play chess and is like basically a prodigy. And she comes from like you know, a very traumatic background, and you know, she grows up in an orphanage, and the janitor teaches her how to play chess, and it's just like I feel like that in itself, like that description is like not all that interesting, but the show is so good. It's set in the 60s, I believe, so the fashion is just iconic, and I don't know, it really made me want to learn how to play chess, which is interesting because I'm like terribly bad at checkers, so I'm not imagining I'd be too good at chess, but I did love The Queen's Gambit, so very good. The next category is Emily in Paris. Emily in Paris is a show that follows Emily while she's in Paris. Yeah. No, but really, so Emily, originally the show starts in Chicago, and she works at a PR firm, and her boss is supposed to go to Paris, but through a series of events, Emily actually ends up going in her place, although she does not speak French, and makes no preparation at all to go to France. But it follows kind of this, again, 20-something who is trying to come up with good ideas and be impressive in this French marketing firm where literally no one likes her. Honestly, I don't blame them, to be fair. I feel like it's one of those shows where it's ambient, I feel like is what the New York Times called it. It's ambient television, where you can kind of just put it on the background and not really pay attention to it, but laugh at it when you like catch some of the dialogue. I finished the show so quickly. Again, it was like a hate watch, so like embarrassing for me, because I think we need to, like, as a collective, stop doing that. I couldn't help myself. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The fashion I hoped would have been better, and to be honest, they did serve some looks, but others were a hard miss, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's getting a season 2, as I think no one is surprised by, so we'll see what the second season is like. But you know, I just feel like it's one of those shows you can put on the background, and it's kind of quirky and kind of fun, kind of pointless though, for being really honest. But if you loved Emily in Paris, I feel like the bar is low, but there's also some really good shows that I think are quite similar to the idea of Emily in Paris, but are much, much better. So if you liked Emily in Paris, I also think that you would like Younger. Younger is about Liza, who is a 40-year-old who pretends to be 26 because she's been kind of out of the game for a bit, and she gets hired at this company with Hilary Duff's character. And yeah, it's basically the story of her pretending to be 26 when she's actually 40 something. And I don't know, it's a fun show. Again, it's one of those shows I feel like you can just put on in the background. It's set in New York City, so there's a lot of good New York City scenes. And I feel like it's a show where it's based in New York City, but they actually shoot on location, so you actually get to see like parts of New York in the background, which I really appreciate. Also on that note, we have the Bold Type. The Bold Type follows 3 friends, Kat, Sutton, and Jane, and they work at Scarlet magazine, which I think is supposed to be Cosmopolitan, or a Cosmopolitan-like magazine. And kind of like their story, just like moving through their 20s and having all these different life experiences. I really like this show. I think that they show a very glamorous, romanticized version of like living in New York, but I still can't stop watching. So there's that. This one was on ABC Freeform. I guess it was on Freeform, and you can stream it on Hulu. But yeah, very good. I feel like the fashion was fun, and again, I think this is one where they actually shoot on locations in New York City, which is also very fun. So I definitely recommend The Bold Type. So if you loved Emily in Paris, I think that you would also really like The Devil Wears Prada, which again might be obvious to some, but I also feel like a lot of people just have never seen Devil Wears Prada, which is a shame because it's so good. It stars Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci. It's so good. And basically Anne Hathaway plays Andy, who was, I guess she was gonna go to law school, but then she wants to be a writer instead. So she applies to this job at Runway magazine that Meryl Streep is the editor-in-chief of, and she applies to be her assistant. And Andy does not know a lick about fashion. She doesn't have style. She doesn't know anything about it. It's not her vibe, which is fine, but they really make her sweat. They really make her feel bad about it. It's so funny. I love this movie because the fashion is incredible. It has one of my favorite scenes in a movie ever with like outfit changes. Incredible, love it. There's like a Paris montage. You know, we just love it. It's all around just a really good movie. 10 out of 10 would recommend for sure. So good. Wow. Next up in this category is another fashion movie. It is Funny Face, starring Audrey Hepburn, and I love this movie so much. Mostly because the looks that are served are incredible. Oh my gosh. There is a specific part of the movie where they're doing a whole photo shoot in Paris, and I just, oh, it's so nice. It's so good. I love it. But Funny Face is a musical that stars Audrey Hepburn, like I said, and she like is obsessed with books. She works at a bookstore. She's very into like philosophy. And one day this photographer and this editor of this magazine come into her bookstore and just start having a photo shoot there. And she's like, whoa, who are you people? Why are you like invading my space? What's happening? And they come up with the great idea to use her in a whole spread in their magazine as like the every woman. And it's a musical, so there's fun little like musical numbers, and it's a whole vibe, honestly. It's just like a really nice feel-good movie. I'm not gonna lie, like the age difference between Audrey Hepburn's character and like her love interest is like super creepy, and I don't know, like I feel like it's like, I don't like it really, and I feel like they would get canceled for pulling that ish now. But other than that, I think the movie is really good. I love it. I watch it so much, frankly. It's so good. So last up in this category, and actually I think this is the last movie that I have to talk about, or yeah, last movie I have to talk about, is Monte Carlo. I'm so sorry, but like Monte Carlo is so good. Oh my gosh. It stars Selena Gomez, Kay Cassidy, and Leighton Meester, and they go on this trip to Paris and they end up in Monte Carlo, and it features like Selena Gomez's really horrible English accent, but like I still love it. I like can't even explain to you really why. It's just so good. This is embarrassing. Like I do really think this was like the peak of cinema. Like that's a joke obviously, but like is it, you know? So there's that. But again, Monte Carlo is so good. It's like a romantic comedy. You know, I feel like it very much sits in that kind of like 2000s pocket of romantic comedies that I think we've really gone away from, and I do think they should go back to that vibe because I feel like that vibe was so strong and so good. We love it. So yeah, those are all of my TV show and movie recommendations based on Bridgerton, Scandal, New Girl, and Emily in Paris. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you want me to do more, give this video a big thumbs up. Also, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you next week with a week in my life vlog because I know that you love those. So cool, bye.